What's going on, YouTube fam? This your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For the day one fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Now, let me give y'all a little disclaimer. This situation just happened. Everything is alleged. Everybody is innocent. And to prove that otherwise, this is a requested video. Let's get right into the story. Teens, gangs, and blicks has been an issue for decades now, unfortunately. A lot of lives have been lost by the hands of individuals who might not fully understand what they are doing or just too young to understand the consequences. And when you have a group of hoppers or kids trying to prove themselves to each other, it can be a recipe for disaster. Being a young boy or girl comes with a lot of peer pressure, sometimes to be something you are not cut out for. You might listen to certain music, watch certain shows, and become fascinated with the idea of gang life or being a gangster. And that could take you down a dark road that some might think they are ready for. Until you pull that trigger, get caught, put in them handcuffs, the cell door slams, then it hits different. I'm speaking from experience. Me, myself, getting jammed up at 17 years old. I told my peoples, don't worry, I'll probably do like 6 months at Hickey School or BV, Boys Village, until I got charged as an adult and made an example out of, getting denied for all youth programs and getting 20 years, all suspended but 5. Sent right with the big boys to Hagerstown, Maryland. It definitely hit me hard. And I thought, am I ready for all this? But then it was too late. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we will be taking it to Marion County, Florida, to discuss a case involving 6 young people allegedly part of a gang of robbers who turned on each other. 16-year-old Layla Silvernail was said to be a standout softball player, a good student on the road to success, having her own car and all, focusing in on becoming a young adult. 16-year-old Camille Coles and Layla were said to be close friends who both went to the same school and hung out in the same circle, along with 17-year-old Robert Robinson, 16-year-old Taj Bruton, and a baby-faced 12-year-old named Christopher Atkins. All the kids seemed to have pretty normal lives, but according to some, it was a big gang presence in their communities. And being young and impressionable, allegedly, all the teens were involved or had ties to the neighborhood gangs. Like most young people, they were trying to see where they fit in at with society, doing petty crimes like burglaries, robberies in the area. But things would take a dark turn on March 30th of this year, when local deputies was called about 10:50 p.m. to an injured person laying on the side of a road on Southeast 183rd Avenue. When they arrived, they realized it was a young lady and rushed her to a local hospital in critical condition. But unfortunately, hours later, she would pass away from her injuries. Still not knowing what took place and investigating the scene, that very next morning, Friday, March 31st, at about 7:55 a.m., police responded less than 5 miles away to another shooting on Southeast 94th Street and Southeast 188th Court. It was an unidentified male laying on the side of the road with gloves on and a mask over his face. He was discovered by a young lady on her way to school who realized it was somebody laying down who she assumed was asleep. Noticing he wasn't breathing, she alerted people in the area who called police. The male victim, unfortunately, wouldn't survive his wounds as well. Still investigating the first 2 homicides, Marion County deputies was called to another location, a remote part of the county, to a vehicle partially submerged on the edge of a body of water. Calling an underwater recovery team, police quickly realized it was a 16-year-old girl in the trunk of the car, unfortunately shot and already gone. The community was scared and in an uproar, thinking it was a serial hitter on the loose, targeting people. Local sheriffs assured the people they would get to the bottom of the situation and why the three were gone. And all the young victims were later identified as the first person found, 16-year-old Layla. Second person found with mask and gloves on was a 17-year-old man whose identity was withheld. And in the trunk of the car was the third victim, 16-year-old Camille. The police and community was confused about what happened. Also to find out the car Camille was found in belonged to Layla. Rewards were put out for any information on what took place or what happened to the young kids. Being a close-knit community, people started coming forward, saying they heard gunshots a few days earlier, and that all three victims were allegedly a part of a local gang known for robbing and burglaries in the area. Other names started coming out as well of alleged members, including 17-year-old Robert Robinson, 12-year-old Christopher Atkins, and 16-year-old Taj Bruton, who went to the same high school as two of the victims, Layla and Camille. They were all cool. Leads led the police picking up Christopher at home, and Robert, who was at school at the time, discussing with the teachers about a fight he previously had. Sheriff stated they had a lot of evidence pointing to the young boys' involvement, and the crime scene was left messy with a lot of clues. As the two young people were arrested, they allegedly told police they were all cool. They found the gun in the car they broke into earlier, and one of the victims wanted to buy the blick. They all linked up in Layla's car, but somewhere in the mix, three turned on the other three. The captors eventually charged the young men with the hits, burglaries, and other charges, but Taj was nowhere to be found. A press conference was held to get the young man picked up for questioning and a $10,000 reward. Not long after, he was picked up in Groveland, Florida, charged with carjacking with a firearm, aggravated assault, grand theft, fleeing law enforcement, and tampering with an electronic monitoring device, but not with the murder. After their arrest, the community was in shock. It was kids allegedly responsible for a triple hit. Residents blamed parents, some blamed the school system. Police pointed out the gang crisis in the area and stated it was no honor amongst thieves. All three are being held and to see if they will be charged as adults. When asked why, if they were underage suspects, their pictures and names were released to the media, police responded, they have to make an example no matter what age teens and kids are. They have to know its consequences to their actions. As more details came out about their alleged involvement in the situation, it was said all three victims were together in Layla's car. Then somewhere in the mix, they linked up with the other three. Witnesses stated they heard multiple shots in the wooded area, suggesting that's where all three were hit at once and over the next 3 days, dumped in different locations. Police were called to a dumpster after a vehicle crashed into it, and allegedly, that's where Layla's body was discovered as the first victim. Police stated at this time, that's all the information they were willing to provide. A GoFundMe was started for Layla and Camille to help lay them to rest, and the three young men are scheduled to appear in court soon. Rest in peace to Layla, Camille, and the other young man. I send my deepest prayers and condolences to their families. It's sad such young kids who seem to be on the right track get caught up like this. 3 gone, 3 charged. When I first saw this story, I wasn't going to touch it at all because I know it's probably more information to the case. But I felt like I needed to for my young men and women. It might seem cool to associate yourself with something and scream gang, gang. But once them guns get involved and attitudes clash, somebody will get hurt. You got to stay in your lane. Nothing is wrong with just doing you. Even if it feels lame at the time, it's safe. Watch your circle and who you trust. We are in a time, loyalty is not a thing. It's a thing of the past. And victims are getting younger and hitters even younger. It's not a game. Once you pull that trigger, there's no reset button on life. So remember, we got to succeed not to fail. So we won't be just another hood tale. Man, crazy story, man. Rest in peace, them 3 young people. You know, this just happened. Like I said, everything in this situation is alleged. Definitely let me know what y'all think in the comments. Remember to be respectful. these young men, young victims. So yeah, man, I ain't gonna talk y'all head off. Y'all heard the story. This is another episode of Hood Tales. This your boy Tony 2 times. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. Love, fam. I'm out.